I'm Tom Watkins. I'm the Regional Director of Centennial Advisers. I've been working with Centennial for 6 years now. I've been doing commercial brokerage for 18 years. I focus mostly on Los Angeles apartments and development sites.
My name's Elaine Kim. I sell apartments and land in the South Bay in Los Angeles. I started at Centennial about 1.5 years ago. Previously, I was a stay-at-home mom and I was a property manager for over a decade. And I also own units myself, so I know what it's like to be on both sides. Simply put, it was a cold call. I called asking if they'd ever considered doing a 1031 exchange, and the woman said, actually, yes, we have been.
And then I think the first time was over a Zoom call, if I recall correctly.
That's right. We had our first appointment over Zoom.
I think we basically answered questions about a 1031 exchange and then said, there's a lot of detail that goes into this. It'll be better if we sit down and really go through the ins and outs of it.
Yeah. I think also the value Centennial had to add resonated because we came to find out later that they'd actually met with a few agents before us. And so I'm sure they'd had many meetings and maybe were reticent to meet with us.
Right.
But I think when they talked to us at that Zoom meeting and felt the depth of our experience and what we could offer them, made them want to meet with us. The issue had been what I'm going to call trust issues. Not only trusting the agents before them who would really listen to what they wanted, but also their property was in a trust and they didn't think that they could move forward on their timeline because their property was in a trust. They brought this up to all the agents before us and the agents had just accepted it. But we said, no, you can sell property that's in a trust and we can show you how. So we started building our relationship by listing a triplex that they had. That was just an easy way to test what we could do for them and test our relationship and build a strong foundation to earn their trust to sell this 24-unit property.
I think it was a mixture of politically what was going on in California as far as their treatment of landlords. Like a lot of other people, it's just getting to be too much. They also were managing this property themselves. They'd owned it for 40 years. And they recently have had some deaths within their family. They were really taking the brunt of the management and they were ready to enjoy their lives and get into an asset that doesn't take as much management. Mm-hmm. And we got to mention this property was built in the end of the 40s. So you're looking at a 70-year-old building. There's going to be problems. So anytime there's a toilet leak, they're getting the calls. They're really ready to enjoy their life and move on to the next step of their investment cycle. Describing the property that they sold, I think first of all, it's enormous. It's on almost an acre of land in West Los Angeles, which is pretty much unheard of these days. Very low density property, 3 separate parcels, and just some real charm that went along with this property.
It's quite nondescript from the outside. It was originally built as condos, garden style. But when you got into the property in the back, it was really magical. It was like a garden, flowers, common area. It was just really a special space. The last minute buyer showed up and she had tight timelines for a 1031 and she was looking for a property that would be a generational asset.
Normally the 1031 exchange buyer is going to be your strongest. She put together a very substantial offer with tight terms, which led us to believe that she would perform and ultimately execute.
Our buyer was new to the process and she asked a lot of great questions. But I think ultimately that's one reason why she went with us. She trusted us not to belittle her, and no matter how small her question was.
I think there was a little bit more hand-holding than a typical apartment investor due to the fact that she's just a very busy, successful woman and she didn't really have a lot of time. So we were helping her on that end.
Oh boy. Well, we learned really quickly before the news even broke about it that insurance rates had, in this scenario, tripled. We had done due diligence and we had gotten an insurance quote and we thought we were being conservative, putting it in our marketing package. And by the time, I think just 2 months later, it went from a quote of maybe $700 a door, $17,000 a year for 24 units to $20,000 for one building. So that was a real shocker. And we found some great people that were just rock stars and gave us a better quote than 20 grand per building. But it was quite a shock.
The clients let us know after the fact that they were satisfied. We got them through competition, basically. We got them the highest price and best terms, and it met their goals. So we actually just got back from a trip with them. We were looking at multiple really safe, think Starbucks, think 7-Eleven, triple net investments in growing areas. They're not going to have any landlord responsibility, which is really what they're looking for to ultimately change their lifestyle and their life.
Well, I think it's extremely important to go look at the real estate. You find out so much on the ground that you wouldn't otherwise, that you would think would be in the marketing package, but isn't. You get to talk to the locals, you get to talk to the businesses that surround it, you see what development's happening around it, and you get a feel for the place. So even though our clients won't be spending a lot of time necessarily in those cities, they come away with a feeling and a deeper understanding of where and what they're buying.
It's also great to learn more about our clients. They're going to be transacting more in the future. You really get to know them on a personal level and understand what their needs are, and it's going to be a fruitful relationship, I think, moving forward. I ate more waffles in 3 days than I have probably the earlier part of the year. There's a lot of waffles.
Yeah,
we had
that
some
he made wonderful waffles.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Definitely, anytime you're with somebody, we were with them like 72 hours straight. Yeah. In cars, on planes. There was a lot of travel. You get to know somebody pretty well, and we had a great time with them. They're such a great family, and we're excited we were able to help them. Honestly, my favorite part of the transaction is when we first start showing this to local investors, everybody's telling us, you're crazy. You're never going to get that price. So there is a little bit of satisfaction where we were able to close this very close to where we had the property listed and kind of tell people that we can sell properties differently.
Ultimately, I think also just being able to service our clients to the maximum capability is really satisfying. There's a solution for every problem. So there's no need to panic. And I think sometimes it's just good to slow down and look at what you already have. And sometimes the answers will find you.
I'd also look at this transaction as there is opportunity in the market right now. We were still able to get a great price for the property they were selling. In the meantime, prices for the properties that they're buying have come down substantially. So they got a really good return on these new assets that they're going to own through the next real estate cycle.
At the end of the day, I think we were all extremely satisfied, including the sellers. We had 17 tours. We procured 7 offers from qualified buyers. Our buyer was all cash with a 7-day due diligence, and I think for 14-day close, so it was really quick. We sold it for 96% of the list price, and we sold it for $380,000 per unit and $480 per square foot. And not bad for a 1947 build.
I think from our experience, we're able to see opportunities in this market. There are a lot of people on the sidelines. That doesn't mean that people aren't out making money on their real estate through specific transactions. So if you have any concerns, any questions of how this went down, please give us a call. We'd be happy to help.
Great things can be done with the power of trust.